Welcome back, everyone, to the Stay Introverted podcast. I'm your co-host, Jay Coleman.
And I'm your other co-host, Steph Laffey.
And as always, just want to say thank you for joining us on this podcasting journey as Steph moves around, trying to get settled. It's awesome.
I'm going to be fidgeting all day today. My back is on fire.
Oh, what did you do?
I don't know. I think it was probably from dancing all night on Saturday. But we'll get into that, yeah.
Good stuff, not bad stuff. That's also awesome. But speaking of good stuff, definitely want to get into or introduce our guest today, Mr. Dan Blackman. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. It's great to be here, Jay and Steph.
Good to have you on.
We're so glad to have you on. So Dan and I have connected on Threads. I feel like I say this for every episode. But in the Threads community is freaking awesome. Like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, there's just so many amazing people, Dan being one of them. And we've just had so many incredible conversations on Threads. I was like, you know what? We need to just shoot the shit on the podcast. Come on. Let's do it. And we made it happen. And here he is. Here we are.
I remember your first couple of episodes. I watched probably 1 through 5. We were talking about getting on the show one day. And as the universe has it, energy, things shift, things change, time changes, but the connection stayed open. And here I am in the 40s. So
Absolutely. We're so happy that you're here. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are, like what you do, what you're all about.
Well, I'm Dan Blackman. Literally, I'm Dan Blackman on Threads and Instagram because it just makes it easier that way. I have had a career in information technology for about 30 years, and I semi-retired from it about 3 years ago to find myself and my purpose, which turns out to be personal development and life coaching. So that was a journey for me from 2016 to now. Personal development wise, had some personal, issues with a divorce, and that was unfriendly. And, that left me in a state that was fighting. And my introverted nature, you bury down and hunker down hard and fight it hard until you burn out. So I burned out. I moved to Florida and found my purpose, and I'm well on my way back and getting ready to launch my coaching business. So, as of course, turn phones off, right?
Don't worry.
That's amazing. I didn't realize you were in Florida. I don't know. I knew you were somewhere warm, but for some reason, I just even though I'm on the East Coast, I default to assuming everybody that lives in warm weather is in California.
or Texas.
Or Texas. That is true.
Well, what part of Florida, if you don't mind me asking?
I moved a mile from the Magic Kingdom, so I'm right in what's Bay Lake or Windermere.
Nice.
Yes,
I'm actually a little bit familiar with that. My mother used to live in Florida. She was there for about almost 20 years. She lived in St. Cloud and then Orlando, so not too far from Magic Kingdom. But
that was part of my journey down here, was to move somewhere, start my daughter in middle school, bring in a little magic into our lives, given everything that happens. And
nice.
I'd always vacation down here with the family, and so I just serendipities happened, and I end up in the last apartment that was open in places that don't open when I needed it to be open. And so now I can watch fireworks every night if I want to. Just walk outside and watch them. So
cool.
I got plenty of pixie dust for the show.
Wow. Nice. That's awesome.
I would like to go back to Disney World at some point. I haven't been there in a long time.
I haven't been there since I was a kid. I would love to go.
They're constantly evolving snacks and rides and fun and creating a great space for parents to argue and just dysregulate just along with their kids while they're trying to get their jobs feeling refreshed and wondering why they don't. But yes,
I love that.
Would you say along that vein, that Disney it's a better experience as a kid or as an adult?
Depends how well you keep your kid on the inside. So for me, it's interesting. It's been 3 years that I've been down here, and I go when I want to, as opposed to like force going all the time. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Sometimes families are on vacation, they come down for a week, and they probably have 2 good days out of the 7. They have 2 days where they actually decompress from their job, hit where they can actually have fun again, and then think about their job and go back to it. Like that's why you need to spend about 10 days down here.
Wow.
So yeah, to answer your question a little bit more, I think that, and this will probably you get to cut this part of the recording because I lost my brain for a second.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah, introvert go, right?
Oh yeah.
We call it squirrel brain around here.
Squirrel
so
brain.
It's all good.
I get them all the time.
Yeah.
No worries. But I'm probably inclined to agree with you, Dan. I think because I don't take myself seriously. I think I'm just a big kid, so I would imagine that I would probably have or enjoy it more than I did when I was a kid. Also because I can choose kind of where I want to go, when I want to go, as opposed to kind of being on someone else's schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also, Epcot has become an adult kind of a theme. So you definitely, there's drinking around the world is a thing. So
yeah.
Literally go to each country, and I should have worn that shirt, but get your margarita in Mexico, and then go all the way around to Canada and get yourself something with maple bourbon or something like that.
Interesting.
And maple popcorn.
Ooh.
There you go.
Oh, so they also have food in every country?
Yeah. And they have seasonal, like they have a food and wine festival where
wow.
they bring in other smaller countries as little kiosks. So you basically can just walk around and eat, $5 to $12 mini plates of things, sample from each country.
Wow.
I mean, you pay
sounds like my kind of day.
Pay a couple $100 to get in and a couple $100 to eat, and you go out fully satiated.
Wow.
$400 lighter. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm 400 pounds heavier.
All those things. That's what vacations are for, right?
Absolutely.
Oh
my god.
So I guess my last question about Disney, then we can kind of get off the mouse, but it's been a while since I've been there, so I really only remember like Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and MGM Studios. Like, has it expanded beyond those 3?
Yeah, expanded it.
This kind of shows you how long it's been.
It's been a while. Yeah. And I love that you remembered it as MGM because it was, parts of it were better. It became Hollywood Studios, so they the cross branding of Disney with that movie studio, they had to generify it or make it more generic, bring in room for Pixar and all that other kind of stuff. So yeah, Hollywood Studios MGM became Hollywood Studios, and then they added a Toy Story land and a Star Wars land, and they also have Animal Kingdom. So Animal Kingdom is basically like a Disney zoo, and it's a total vibe. It's like of all the other parks, that one has its own vibe.
I feel like I remember Animal Kingdom very vaguely. Like, I was literally 6 or 7 years old when we went. And, like, the only thing that really sticks out is Animal Kingdom and Tower of Terror, which is a little concerning that my parents put me on that ride at 7 years old, but okay.
They wanted you to have a memory. Like, you're not going to forget that.
Well, they did their job. Wow, I would love to go back. I have so many friends that are like Disney adults.
Yeah.
And it just seems like you said, like you go down there for 7 to 10 days, and you spend the first 3 days trying to get your bearing, figure out the park and all the different passes that you need to navigate the park. And then you enjoy 2 days, and then you're thinking about having to go back to work. So,
yeah, and I've often wondered if I need to I could definitely guide people on the experience because it's very helpful to have someone who's done all the things to know when to go, when not to go, and almost all the advice that you hear is wrong, and everybody follows it, and so you get this herd mentality. So this is why it's great to be an introvert, right? You see the crowd, and you follow the energy to the crowd, and you know that thing is going to be good, but not with all those people. And you go do something else that's also good. If you keep that mentality, you can be happy. You can have an enjoyable day. But if you got kids who have to do Space Mountain when they have to do Space Mountain, all you hear is just arguing with the kids. God. And there's a lot of, I think that's what the snacks are for. It's bribery. It's like, look, kid, if you stop talking, I'm going to stuff your face full of a Mickey bar. And then, you'll be happy while we're not doing Space Mountain until later when I can actually use my lightning lane pass without having to explain the whole thing to your, so.
Oh, that's so funny.
And we got a lot of friends on Threads who talk about parenting and, good parenting and regulating. I'd like to see them try some of this stuff in a battleground like Disney,
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
It's funny. I used to live out in California for about 10 years, and I lived in California for 10 years, but I never actually went to LA, which is weird, I guess. But so that also means that I never made it down to Disneyland. But everyone I work with raved about Disneyland. I wasn't really impressed because Disney World, even the last time I went, Disney World was a lot bigger than Disneyland.
How would you know? You never went.
Because we have Wikipedia, and you can look up the different Disney parks, and it says how big they are. That's how I know. I'm a nerd.
Bigger is always better.
Fair enough, but they would rave about this thing, and they would tell me how they went through the whole park in a day, and I'm like, you went through that whole park in a day? Yeah, that's pretty cool. You need a good 3 or 4 days to see the entire Disney World if you want to do it. And they didn't believe me, so I broke out the Wikipedia and I showed them that Disney World at the time was the size of Queens.
It's the size of there's the size of the parking lot at the Magic Kingdom. That was one of the stats they throw at you when you're on the when the first time I went to Disneyland once, and they said, this one park can fit in the Magic Kingdom parking lot in Orlando, which is the Magic Kingdom parking lot in Orlando is huge.
Yes.
But they've combined all the elements, all the different parks in Disneyland. And what I liked about Disneyland is you didn't have to walk very far. You just sort of moved a few feet that way and a few feet this way and a little few, and just kind of walked around this small circle, and you tried to do as many things as possible. In Disneyland, but in Disney World, there's you get a lot of steps in. I've had some 13, 14, 15 mile days.
Wow.
Just walking the park in one day.
Oh my God. How often do you go? Oh, sorry.
How often? Well, in August I haven't been because I'm starting a business. I'm actually kind of missing it. But definitely a couple times a month, if not a couple times a week. So,
wow. Okay.
Nice.
Right. You should definitely consider a career as a Disney guy then. You would be.
I've thought about it. I've thought about it as a gig thing.
Yeah.
At some point.
Sure.
And I would like to apply to work there, when I get done with the next 15, 20 years of coaching.
Right. Oh, I love that. So what brought you into coaching? Switching gears a little bit.
So being a Scrum Master, and so in information in IT, one of the leadership roles for a methodology called Agile methodology for developing software. They have a certain role called the Scrum Master, which is essentially someone who's not necessarily doing the work or project managing the work, but making sure that everybody has the resources they need and doing everything possible to keep people happy and make management happy and product happy. And there's sort of a brain on duty type job, but it's very personable, which doesn't sound very introverted, but it is, because there's a context to it. And, we tend to do well in context when, at least I do well in context. So to have a framework like Agile, where there's roles and responsibility that are clearly laid out, my interpersonal qualities get to come through doing something like Scrum. So I had, when I was in software development, doing project management and those type of detail-oriented work, you use all your spoons pretty quickly on that stuff and get burnt out and quit one job to go to another job and, move around a lot, change projects and stuff, because it's hard to stay resourced with all of the different details and people moving and all that kind of stuff you need to do. So when I found my way to Agile methodologies and became a leader that was more in the spoon management department and the product management part of it and software management part of it, I got to sort of go meta with just my inner being, and it clicked. So from that point, I just realized I was kind of a natural at leading from that place of, really reading the room and sitting and using those skills that we use to survive in a thrive way. So it became sort of a personal journey of, like, in 2010, from 2010 on, when I encountered Agile, was like, oh, wow, I did not know life could be like this. So when I left, and I started thinking about going back to work and what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do, it became very clear that being around people in an aligned way was what I wanted to do. And the best way to get them aligned is to align them. So coaching just became kind of just something I realized I'd been doing already and enjoyed doing. And then part of my recovery from trauma was learning practices to help people kind of manage their energy. So I'm combining both of those in my program that I'm going to be rolling out over the next 4 months.
Okay. It's interesting. You mentioned that, in context, being personable or having to deal with people with introverts can actually thrive in those cases. And I think there's something to be said about that, because I think when we know what's expected of us, I think it kind of makes it, if not easier, at least more bearable to be personable and to be sociable and to deal with people, because we know, okay, this is what's expected of me. This is for how long is expected of me. This is what I have to contribute. This is what I can expect as far as any pushback or response. So it's not that we can't be personable. It's that, when we have, the more context we have, the more we know what's expected of us, the more we're able to kind of manage our energy and thrive in those cases.
Yeah, I feel like if we're given, like, some parameters, I feel like that's helpful. Like, I don't know about either of you guys, but, like, just being told to go into a room full of people and, like, talk and connect, like, I'm like, no. Thank you, but no. But if you give me a set of parameters, like, what is the intention here? Why am I here? Why are they here? What is the point of us all talking? What are we trying to accomplish? Even if the intention is just, like, to network or to make friendships. Like, if I have a purpose in mind, then I can achieve that purpose. But, like, if you put me in a room with a bunch of people and I don't know what the point is, then I fall apart.
Oh, yeah. I'm right there with you. And like you said, you don't have to get, dot every I, cross every T, but just let me know what is the point of us being here, and then I can go from there.
And also, the more times you show up in the same situation and the same sequence with the same people, the more comfortable you get. And that's one of the things about Agile. Agile has ceremonies, so they have a daily stand-up where the same 3 questions are asked every day when you come in. It's not going to be you walk in and you get beat up by your boss because he doesn't like you that day or something ridiculous like that. I mean, it's not supposed to be that way. But, it's like, what did you say you were going to do yesterday? What are you going to do today? What are what are your blockers, type of things? And so the stand-up, people say, like, hey, I wasn't able to do this yesterday because we had that stupid meeting. It's like, all right, so take an action and not have those stupid meetings anymore. Or let's talk about managing our spoons better, or whatever it was that we needed to do priority-wise. But there's a daily check-in with everybody, and we all check in the same way. It's not, that water cooler shooting the stuff or whatever. That's all good too. But having that practice, you can shuffle people in and out of the mix. And then I think a lot of software people are introverts. They just would rather just tell me what to do. Let me sit at my computer. I'm going to sit there and do it. Okay, I've got peace. I'm putting my skills to get something done that's helpful. And I know what's expected of me. I know what my output is. Input, output, I'm good. I'm here. I'm chill. Then I do the work.
Nice.
This adds a little bit more, and you can interact with people to it. So the retrospective, the end of the week, you get together, you have a little fun, you do a workshop, throw some ideas around, play with Post-it notes, maybe crayons or whatever, and have a good old time doing things you'd like to do. And also pass information around. So.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. I love that you've been able, it sounds like you've been able to take like what you learned from your career and apply it to what you're doing now, just for your business. So that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. That's definitely that's the goal.
Yeah, I remember my first counter experience with Agile wasn't the most fun, just because I think it had more to do with the leader. Also, at first I didn't understand, like, why are we asking these questions, the same questions every damn day? Personally, I don't like repeating myself. I don't like people who repeat the same things. So that was a personal thing for me. Once I understood, what the purpose of it was, I'm like, okay, fair enough. I get it. It makes sense to say, okay, this is where I am. This is where I was. This is where I'm going. And it just kind of, it sets you up better for your project. But I also think in that particular case, my main issue with the person leading it was his unhealthy obsession with Post-it notes. He just, like, every day it was just like a wall full of Post-it notes, and they were all different colors. It was green for this, orange for this, fuchsia for this. It's got to be too much.
Wow, fuchsia. He really got into the weeds.
Yo, he had everything except yellow, which was like the main Post-it color.
I got yellow ones in here, but
yeah, it's like, what, sir? It's just so like that. That wasn't the best introduction into Agile for me. It took a while to get understanding of what Agile was supposed to be, but once I did, it was all good.
Yeah. I think Agile can get perverted, and that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother podcast with a whole nother bunch of people, I think.
Oh, wow. Wait, so I'm not going to lie, I'm not familiar with like IT, software type terms. So I'm not familiar with what this is. So
don't worry, I'm not really either.
Can you dumb it down for those of us, for me and for those of us listening?
I'm desperately trying not to go into it's become a thing where there's so many buzzwords, like government acronyms, and there's certifications for it, and there's light Scrum and dark Scrum, and there's pedagogy everywhere with
those are big words.
Yeah. So to keep it cool for the listeners, if you think of, like, you hear the word Agile and you think it has a capital A on it, like lowercase the A, and think of it as agility. So what we want is we want more inclusion of ideas, and you want to rely on the people, not so much the process that you're delivering things by. ironically enough, agile methodology is a process. So there's a little bit of like built-in, I'm not sure of the word for it, but there's a built-in conflict in the way what agile is supposed to be. It's a bunch of scripted meetings that are designed to get people familiar with how they should share information. And so you show up in a meeting and you should have everything planned for the week. And then you show up on every day on Monday through Wednesday with this is what you're working on, for the week. And then at the end of the week, you review what you worked on. And if there were common problems that came up, then those problems would be solved and escalated. So instead of you sitting at your desk toiling on, doing what you're trying to get done, and having to send emails and connecting by emails, you sort of have everyday scripted check-ins of, people interaction where someone is responsible for making sure everybody has what they need. So it's a way of introducing a person who is responsible for helping the whole team.
That is helpful. I'm sorry, I'm trying to mute because Noki's barking like a psycho. But I'll try to get this out before he goes crazy again. I feel like what you're saying, like I feel like as you're talking, I'm like, oh, so that's what my IT people, because I work in project management, and even though I'm not in IT, I work with the developers on all these different processes that they're building for my team to roll out to the company. So they're always talking about daily check-ins. Like they always have their daily check-in meetings. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but okay. So now I feel like I do.
They're probably stand-ups, and what you're probably doing is, helping make sure that there are multiple teams doing multiple things based on their multiple skill sets, and each one of them are taking bits and pieces of what you're trying to accomplish. They're kind of sliced into different pieces, and they go to different parts of your IT, and then that has to be managed. So the product delivery, like if you all of a sudden decide you want one feature project management wise, and you have to have this feature by this date, it goes to a whole team of product owners who own that piece of product, and then they break it up into pieces and give it to the developers. And developers, especially introverted ones, don't like you changing their stuff all the time. So there needs to be layers of there need to be enemies. So you're the enemy, and you've changed their world. And then am I getting this right, Jay? That's pretty much how this works.
I'm not, my background is in procurement, in contracts, but I was thinking, while we're having this conversation, Dan, you had mentioned that, IT is, I guess, one of those careers or industries that I guess introverts, maybe I don't know if gravitate is the word, but you would be surprised that there are a lot of introverts in IT, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm thinking that, I think that introverts tend to find careers or look for careers that kind of suit their personality. So I think, Steph, you may have found a career that suits you. For me, I am introverted. I'm not a fan of talking to people a lot, but I do enjoy helping people get what they need.
Yeah.
And then, I also enjoy working on a variety of different projects. So I like getting, a taste of the different business functions and groups and industries. And I think that's what procurement kind of provides. That's why I'm able, even though I don't like talking a lot, I can speak to a variety of things like agile. And then I can go on my way and do my work by myself. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important. So I don't know if it's a question, but I guess, do you think that introverts kind of look for or gravitate towards certain industries, that I guess that suit their particular introverted personality?
I'm not sure. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I don't know that I can speak that confidently on introvert tendencies. But I have noticed a lot of introverted folks in IT over my 30 years of being one. of them and being the voice for others. So I've interacted a lot. I'm usually a calm, grounded, safe place, just as a people interactor. And I prefer to be in that calm space. So I seem to attract a lot of introverts, and extroverts just kind of ignore me, which is great. So sometimes I feel like a shield. Everybody wins. So over the years, I've done my Myers-Briggs and come up between, like, I'm definitely an NF, like, and that's probably star on the outside. I'm INFJ or INFP and ENFJ, ENFP. I'm in that range. I think it's the extroversion comes out when I'm comfortable and confident with the procedures and things that are around. That's why I had that perspective. I notice if I answer questions on the Myers-Briggs one week and I have a certain issue, like at home, where I'm just thinking a little bit where I'm gaining my spoons internally more than externally, I'll come out an I. But if I'm like everything's solved, I'll be an E. Because if I had my druthers, I would go out and help people. So I definitely kind of get what you're saying, which led me to ask, and just curious, since you guys are the experts of 40 plus episodes, and seeing patterns and hearing people talk, like even this, like as I've gotten more comfortable, sitting with you. I mean, I've known Steph and watched the show, and now I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. There's a transition, right, based on the comfort level that you've noticed from people. And I'm just wondering if there are other things you've noticed, like, is there a core set of things that you would say definitely define an introvert? And then there's a comorbid piece of, like other sets of personality traits that come up, if you were to break it into two sections.
Good question. I feel like a lot of introverts are always like down to, like, there's definitely a little bit of like bobbing and weaving at first in the beginning of the episode, like as we're figuring each other out. Mm-hmm. I feel like everybody just, we're slow to find our comfort zone, but like once we all click and like connect, then the conversation starts to take off. So I've noticed like the first 10 to 15 minutes, we're usually just we're all trying to figure each other out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then throughout the episodes, we all start to get more and more comfortable. I definitely think that's an introverted trait. I feel like that's one of the big themes that I've noticed, like, across the board. But our guests have been so different, like, from guest to guest. It's hard to, like, really define anybody as, like, having multiple similarities other than that one. What do you think, Jai?
I'm inclined to agree. I definitely I definitely
like off the top of my head, maybe there is, but
yeah, there's definitely that kind of learning each other, feeling each other out process that we have on our episodes, and I think that's, whether it's an introvert or not, I think there's just that kind of feeling each other out part. But towards the middle, we start to, everyone starts to get comfortable, and then that's kind of where we get into real conversations.
Yeah.
As far as kind of what defines an introvert, it's part of the premise of our podcast was really to show and highlight that there is no one definition of what or who an introvert is. Introverts come in so many different flavors, and that's really what we want to highlight. Starting with me and Steph. I can be outgoing when I want to. Most of the time I don't want to. I'm very reserved and quiet, but I do have my own opinions and stuff to say. Steph is way more outgoing than I am. We're both pretty introspective. I would say Steph is probably more so than I am. We have a lot of similarities, but we have our differences. but we're both introverts. We both get drained at different points dealing with people. Again, we're both introspective. We both overthink, but maybe
Oh, there we go. That's a theme.
Overthink.
There's
Yeah.
probably one.
Yeah.
There's probably one, the overthinking one. But yeah, our introverted guests, they've all been different. And that's really what we want to highlight. And that's because, a lot of people, even introverts to some extent, just don't really understand or don't understand that introversion can do pretty much anything. There's no, there's really nothing that an introvert can do. We just, we have to be mindful of our energy. We're not naturally, I guess, extroverted are naturally, most of us are naturally, prone to drawing energy from socializing or being part of the crowd, like our extroverted friends. But that doesn't make us any less successful. Doesn't make us any less sociable, any less human. We just go about it differently. But I think the real key for me is that it's just showing and highlighting that, there is no one way to be an introvert, and each of the different flavors are awesome in their own ways. And you'll be surprised who that you've known your entire life or that you spent a bunch of time with is actually introvert because they display characteristics that you don't associate with introversion.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of our guests have surprised me. I'm like, oh, you're an introvert? Really? And the ones that are extroverts, I'm like, okay, I'm not surprised at all. But the ones that have been introverts are some of them have been extremely surprising. I'm like, really? But then again, I get that reaction quite a bit too, depending on the day and the situation.
You're absolutely right, Steph. Because I'm right there with you. Like our extroverts, I'm pretty much on the nose, on the money. Like that's you. But there are not trying to stereotype, but you got it.
Did you call somebody out specifically? I didn't hear that.
No, I think our guests that are extroverts. When we've had extroverts, it's there's no question in my mind that they're an introvert.
Will.
Why was I thinking of Will also? Shout out to Will. Will Bryant. But yeah, even our introverted guests, I'm like, is she actually an introvert? And it just shows that, even us two experts we're constantly learning about, what an introvert actually is. And
so
go ahead.
Yeah, I'd love to explore so spoons is real popular now, like how we're managing our spoons. And how much energy awareness you have is really important to everyone. It's extensible to everyone. Like you always want to manage your energy, and where you're getting your energy from is really what determines more introversion, extroversion. So I think that makes me sort of an ambivert. Like I can be in crowds and gain energy from the crowd. It better be an aligned crowd. If it's chaos, I don't know how to draw from chaos. That's not my natural inclination.
Right.
Part of that, though, is my human design is a responder. So until I feel like I know what I'm responding to, I am not comfortable with letting myself out, which makes me look shy and reserved and uncomfortable and anxious. And I deplete my own energy faster when I'm not comfortable. So I'm not sure. Just curious, I don't know. It could be introversion. It could be extroversion. I don't know. But I would say that sometimes I sit by myself and I absolutely am not gaining resource when I'm doing it. I'm alone. I'm isolated. I'm doing the things, but I'm not gaining spoons.
Right, because you have nothing to respond to, so you're just
I have nothing to respond to. Yeah. And so I have to find something to respond to, and that search and that quest to find things leads to things like playing video games, and it's like you're waiting for a spark, and where does the spark come from? Somewhere external. Right. So does that make me an extrovert sitting in my house, and the extroversion is through video games or connecting with people? Like sometimes I really have to go and hang out with my group of people that are specifically friends in a certain area, and
Right.
I will feel my energy gain that way. I think for the most
Ooh,
part, though, I feel introverted. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
that's
to
so interesting. That's
kind of
like the
piggyback.
first time. Oh, sorry.
No,
What's
no
that?
worries. I was gonna say. I mean, to piggyback off that, I think um, another, I guess, trait of introversion is that we tend to get overstimulated in social settings, but that doesn't mean that we don't want or crave or look for stimulation. We just don't want a bunch of it. So I think it's kind of another way of saying what you said, Dan, is that we do want things. We do look for things to respond to. We do look for stimulation in our own way. We just don't need a crowd of 50 people all the time. Like that. That's too much. But yeah, playing a video game, talking with one or two friends. I think that for some of us that might do it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what were you going to say, stuff?
Oh, now you want to hear what I have to say?
Yes.
No, I'm not going to say it. I forgot. No, I know. Dan, when you were talking about like just the way that you described human design, like your human design, I feel like as you were talking, I'm like, oh, like that's why he was so good at IT for so long. Like, he's responding to like needs. Like I don't know. It just like really clicked.
Yeah.
Like the way that you described your human design, and like it just makes so much sense why you were in that career and like why you operate the way you do. Like that was fascinating.
Well, thanks. I think part of my the journey the last couple of years, and it's been a man in the cave kind of moment for me. Fortunately, the cave being Disney World and not an actual cave. But part of that finding myself and learning and healing through presence practices as a modality has been that you store a lot of traumatic energy in the body over years, just from anything from how you were handled as a baby to how you were treated as a kid or how you dealt with groups. You get different damages along the way. Like I was teased a lot in high school, so I don't like being around groups because I just assume I'm going to be teased. So you go out in your 20s and you're looking for a job and you don't want to go out with the people afterward, but that's because you're carrying some of that trauma. And your energy builds these protection kind of mechanisms around it to keep you safe. And they build themselves into these little things where you might not make eye contact very well. So, specific thing about eye contact for me, I was a victim of an intimate partner domestic violence. And so for me, after that, I went right back to my job, right? So some life happens, you still got to go to work. And what I noticed right away was I could not make eye contact with people. And so for me, I'm very personal, like connected, very emotionally aware, and emotional connection is really important to me as well as doing the work. So, both having the intellectual capacity and the emotional capacity injured both by racing thoughts and also like that I just could not make eye contact with people. And I noticed I would be looking over here and I would be talking about the thing. And then I'd realize I don't have any idea whether this person heard me. And I'd look back and I was lost. And it became very disconcerting for me, not just because of that. I mean, the eye contact was uncomfortable enough, but I realized I lost some type of energetic ability or connecting with people with eye contact, that there was actually energy and information being transferred. Like it's a, there's like an energetic agreement you have when you have a conversation with someone where eye contact, and that your energy can also like grow or recede depending on the quality of that connection too. And these are all things I've learned over the last couple of years that have helped me both like actually release the trauma and then start to be able to make better eye contact again. So there was like a flip a couple of years ago. I mean, I'm in Disney World and I'm like not looking at people. And I saw this one YouTube suggestion. If you really want to change your life in 30 days, spend 30 days looking with your right eye into someone else's left eye and watch what shifts for you. I thought there's no way in hell I could do this. And I tried it, and they were complete strangers. But then I realized, like, it was bringing up parts. It was bringing up, like, traumas and all kinds of other things, just making that human connection. And I did a lot of healing with that. I've done a lot of healing with that. And I think part of having the purple hair is a lot of people look at me. And a lot of people say, yo, dude, that's amazing. And I'll stop and I'll look them in the eye, and it'll go from that's amazing to they slow down and they stop. And the energetic connection you make, like extroverts make this connection, right? They just walk into the room and they just feel into a person and they connect with them. So I think there's a mix of skills you can learn, things that have happened in your life that keep you from learning those skills. And if you can get out of your comfort zone, you can, just gently like learn a little bit at a time and shift your life in some pretty amazing ways. And having done that, that's what I want to coach people on.
That's amazing.
Wow. Wait, so you said you look with your right eye into people's left eye?
Yeah, because if you're facing somebody, you're lining up. Yeah, you're not like cross-eyeing, but you're.
Wow. Ooh.
But that's sort of what happens. So you're right eye dominant. If most people, two right-handed people, are connecting, you almost create. If everybody starts doing that, you create like an instant connection.
Wow.
So instead of looking at people, you're really. I think the introverts in the audience are just like, all right, I'm wearing my sunglasses around this guy, my mirrored sunglasses. I'm breaking them things out.
That's so funny. That's a great, yeah. I mean, do you think that helps you, like just being consciously aware of, like, okay, am I looking at people with my right eye into their left eye? Like, did that make it slowly easier?
At first, it was just strictly trying that as a thing to do. Like,
right.
What happened after that was just I found where my energy center was and how to connect with people through eye contact again. I basically healed that natural mechanism that I have through practicing that. And practicing that makes you more comfortable or not. I mean, it might make you instantly recoil and be like, I ain't doing this. And I'm really mad that I ever heard that suggestion. Like, that's a possibility too.
Yeah.
It just helps with awareness. And I like to experiment on this little human thing, like that human suit that we're wearing. I like to experiment with it. And I think that curiosity and lightness, instead of you have to do this, you have to learn this, you don't know that already, you're not enough, like all of those limited beliefs we have, when you start to experiment with yourself and treat yourself like a lab, like get really into the tinkering that we can do and tinker with yourself and try things. It's fun. It's fun.
That's awesome. I love that. You're a human experiment. That's awesome.
Yeah, experiment on yourself.
I feel like you're kind of bringing up a book that I'm reading right now. You've probably read it or heard of it, Atomic Habits, by James Clear. Yeah. You read it or you haven't?
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. So he mentions sort of automating habits, and like at first it's about the habit, but then eventually like it opens up something in you, and it kind of deepens like the whole purpose and intention of like why you're doing it in the first place. So with your eye contact thing, it sounds like, at first you're trying to get the habit to be a regular thing, like make eye contact with my right eye into their left eye. So you're focused on the metric. And then eventually, if you do it enough times with enough repetition, you're able to make that shift into, okay, I'm trying to energetically connect with the person that I'm looking at. And the eye contact thing just sort of happens naturally without you even having to think about it.
Or you just operate from the place of I want to energy connect because now you've learned how. Or whatever shift works for you. Like the one I described worked for me because that's where I was on my journey. And that's another thing too. I think we get advice from other people and it builds in an immediate imposter syndrome. where you're like, I'm not that person, but I have to do this to be successful. So I'm going to try
Right.
it and I'm going to really achieve at it. And I do the thing. Did I do it right? I don't know. But do I feel different? I don't know. And then you keep
Right.
externally, you go to the next book and you go to the next book and you go to the next book. But if you take the results of the experiment already to be whatever I discover, and not, I have to, all right, I did 13 eye contacts today and six of them were successful and 7
Right.
of them made me want to go vomit and whatever. Like,
And maybe it's not the thing for you.
I think that's for me, that's the wrong way to do it. Like,
Oh,
but
yeah,
other people
totally.
might be like, numbers wonkies and be like, this is really important. I crushed
Right.
it today. I just,
Oh, yeah, no, it has to be about you and like where you're at. Like that's just
Yeah.
that's the metric, and you can't let the metric be the end goal, I feel like.
yeah, that's the experimental nature of doing workshopping on yourself.
Right.
I'm going to try this for a week. Go ahead.
I want to get into one more thing before we start to wrap up, Dan. Before we jumped on to the episode, you started asking about like introvert essentials. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask that question to I guess Steph and I, but also our audience.
Yeah, I sort of when I dropped in with the internet, like the introvert, what makes an introvert? Have you come up with a bunch of core capabilities, and was there a set of like comorbid features off to the side? Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Oh, okay, I thought it was more like things that introverts need, that kind of make them
spoon management, like kind of thing. Yeah, so what do you feel like are some of those? Maybe touched on some of them. I think knowing yourself is probably the biggest one. If you were asking me that question, I think it works for introverts and extroverts. Knowing yourself, where your energy flows, where intention goes, energy flows, all those kind of things.
Yeah, definitely knowing yourself. Not just knowing yourself, but knowing how your energy flows, and knowing when this time to go. I would say is probably for me at least. It's probably a big thing. Even whether I have high energy, low energy, just knowing when I get to that certain level that this is it, and whatever is not done isn't done. Whoever I haven't spoken to just isn't getting spoken to. Just knowing when I have to go.
So, what's your relationship with to-do lists? You have a love-hate relationship with to-do lists?
Them, and I feel so.
You have? Oh, good. I want to talk about this.
For me, I do to-do lists. Like if you come in my office, I have two boards here with just a bunch of things to do, but also goals. So I'm all for I in team lists, but go ahead, please share.
Well, I got to the point because my lists are crazy. Like it's to the point where it's like I put the littlest, stupidest things on a list, and it got to the point where I was spending more time putting things on my list, organizing my list, checking things off my list, than I spent actually doing the list. So this summer I experimented with not looking at my list. I sort of do like I'll do like a done list, sort of. Like rather than a to-do, it's just like I write down the things that I've done. If I get into the mode where I want to like see what I've accomplished. But for the most part, I don't really use a to-do list anymore. And I'm not saying that I don't have anxiety because my husband would argue that I definitely have anxiety still. But it's a lot better. Sort of.
So you have a typical to-do list aversion and addiction. It's both an aversion and an addiction, right? It's where you get your dopamine. It's how you rate yourself. It's how you score yourself. And then you just get tired of beating yourself down and want positivity, and so you chuck it out the window. And then how are you supposed to live life without a to-do list, right?
Right. Yeah, so
So
I know all the things that like I need to get done. So like instead of a to-do list, I'll make like a priority list for the day. And it rather than being like read emails, then make today's list,
yeah,
then cook lunch. Like I'm telling you, it was such a micro specific to-do list that it hurt my brain, like to
yeah.
look at. So now it's like, okay, what are the three biggest things that I need to accomplish at work, at home, socially, today?
hmm
Can I realistically get them all done?
What's here in
And
the
then just
present
do it.
moment? What's here in the present, here and now for me that I can get done today and
Yeah.
feel accomplished?
Exactly.
And there's a lot of similarities between that and to-do list jockeying and management and agile. Agile took over from waterfall. Waterfall was a very scriptive, I got to do this and I do that and I do this and I do that. And by the time I get to here, it's Thursday of next week. And then this happens and I get this done. As soon as you created that 2-week schedule, something happens here and then the whole schedule has to be redone. And so the people who can manage the to-do lists faster, the to-do list jockeys, are the ones who are the most successful, and they earn the biggest trophies and prizes. Oh, look at how good I am at multitasking and doing the to-do list. Agile is like, generally speaking, I want to be a successful human that parents really well. And today's parenting challenge is my dog's eating the world on a podcast. So while my dog's eating the world on a podcast, like that wasn't on your to-do list, but you're thinking of all things for tomorrow's to-do list. So this doesn't happen again the next time. Right. Or, that kind of thinking that's not a you first thinking, that's right. Not, so being able to handle what's present today, I think is better than a to-do list. The world just keeps giving you action items. It just keeps chucking you stuff.
Well, that's exactly where I'm at, and that's I think why I started to just have a meltdown, because it was like I would make a list. That saying, I make plans and God laughs. That literally was my life. Every time I made a list, I didn't get anything done, and then I would just spiral. So it's just easier to approach it from a what's important today mindset. And I just feel so much more accomplished and so much more rested at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a really good shift. And you just come into every day with a clean slate and
I don't know about that, but we're working.
Tackle what's there. Yeah. So, Jay, how do you find to-do lists help you?
Well, I used to want to do 10, 12 things every day, and then I realized, you're only doing 5. So it's similar to Steph's point. I realized that I had to actually be more realistic about about the things that are actually important that I actually want to do, but also just the amount of time in the day. And some things take longer than others. So you may get one thing done, but it took a long time, and and that's okay. Don't there's just no need to feel like a failure because you didn't get all 25 things on your list done. It wasn't realistic. So I made this shift to make a more realistic list that helped me. And then also I like what Steph said about having a to-done list where you kind of at the end of the day just do a check, tick off all the things that you got accomplished. Because sometimes we feel that as much as we do, we don't get anything done or get nearly what we have to get done. But you actually stop for a second and just take stock of what you did during the day. You realize you actually did a lot, and we need to be we need to recognize that and be appreciative of it. So that's kind of where I've been on my list journey, is being more I guess appreciative of myself and recognizing the things that I do get done during the day, which allowed me to be more realistic in making those lists. Also, what I had to do was make sure that I'm not confusing goals with things to do. I think a lot of times, you say we have these goals, but it's really just a to-do list. It's it's not really any goals. Your goals kind of or your to-do list should kind of wrap up into your overall goals. So I think once I kind of made that distinction, list work began to work a lot better for me. So I love them. Like I don't
Yeah.
put more than like 4 or 5 things on my list every day because I know that's what I have time to do, and I actually make sure that I have time to do it, and that's how it's worked out for me.
Do you group them into categories that represent parts of yourself that you're evolving? Like,
I don't know about that. I for me it's more. I tend to look at it more from a more practical standpoint. In the sense that if there are 3 things that I know I can kind of that are interrelated that I can kind of knock out in a similar amount of time or together, that's kind of how I look at it. I'm guessing more. To me, the lists are more functional, more practical than anything. I don't really kind of look at them as like an extension of myself.
there's a lot of interesting work that you can do experimentally and otherwise on like what your to-do lists say about yourself, what they say about how you're trying to complete your goals, what goals you're trying to complete, even if they're aligned with you. So you all are on different ends of the spectrum in terms of like, you know, you have a working relationship with your to-dos, which is good, Jay. And Steph, I think you're a recovering to-do list pleaser or something.
Yeah.
And you're
Pretty
trying
much.
to claim yourself out of there. So like part of the self-help journey, like actually my tagline is I use agile methodologies and presence practices to make your to-do list ta-da, which is crazy that we're having this conversation.
Oh, I love that.
But that's what I've taken on this evolution from like waterfall to agile in my corporate career, and this evolution from the brain to the presence. Having gone in those 2 directions, I can just see how to, you know, get you to a place of like you get up in the day and you have gratitude for what you accomplish and you step into the next thing that you're going to do because that's the part of you you're bringing to your to-do list, instead of, you know, you take the to-do list and you check it off and you get it done and then you're happy, and then you have the dopamine hit, and you're only happy if it was a good knock it out day and you didn't use all your spoons or use them as ninja swords and beat people up with your spoons. You know, you're looking at it from this is what I get to do instead of this is what I have to do. And there's a powerful shift that's available there that to-do lists offer you. So that's what I'm actually building out as a product, is how to take your to-do list and turn it into a 2025 set of goal plans where you just do more receiving what is and what's there and trust your own capabilities to knock things off and almost don't keep score. Like you've experimented on yourself and you're playing a game, but you turn the score off. Like you don't have to hit the 50 home runs in baseball. You don't have to, you know, steal 50 bases next year. You're not looking at that as the goal. The metric is not the goal. Like we talked about that, right? It's what the goal is how you show up and how you evolve and enjoy your journey in this human suit as you're doing all the things that sometimes you have to do. I mean, you got to have a to-do list. You got bills to pay on certain dates and things like that. But that's part of being a financially responsible person. So, you know, if that's what you say, I'm going to be financially responsible next year, then you do that. You don't have to list all the goals. You already know that you have to pay your bills on time. So you just do it. But what you embody when you get up in the morning is there's a bill to be paid, and I'm going to be the financially responsible person today. And you show up with that energy, and then you do the work from that space instead of, oh crap, I should pay my bill today. I should have paid it yesterday. I should have paid it 3 days ago. But the dog did this and the cat did that, and you know, this person did that, and I gotta buy a car, and I gotta, like, you just, the way I'm gonna show up responsibly financially today is to pay this bill. We'll talk about tomorrow. That's future.
Right.
That's a future problem. So
ooh, I need some of that. So where can people get this where can people get this product if it's coming soon, or where can they find you if they want to connect with you and get some of your resources?
If you want to connect with me, find me on Threads. Find me on Threads through Steph. I'm Dan Blackman is
Nice and
my
simple.
handle. My Instagram is empty because I've cleared it out in preparation for rolling things out. It should be September 3rd. I start rolling out and I bet more ideas of what this is, and it's going to take a while for people to connect and see it because there's jargon and other things. Essentially, it's just taking a to-do list and moving it forward. I have a link tree. Also, I'm Dan Blackman, and on a podcast, if you want to get to know me personally and hear me talk about my my passion for human development and just mental health issues and those kind of things, just being a human. The Grounded Campfire is
Which is a great podcast, otherwise.
Thanks. So thanks for the opportunity to plug all those things.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, we love you guys. If you love this episode, be sure to give Dan a follow on all the platforms and check out his podcast. And if you loved this episode or the podcast in general, be sure to subscribe to the Introverted Podcast on Apple, Amazon, all the podcasting platforms, and we are now on YouTube, so hit us up there too. And be sure to leave us a rating and a 5-star. I always freaking do those. A 5-star rating and a review. Okay, a 5-star rating and a review.
There you go.
Anyway, that is all. Thank you guys for listening. Stay introverted.
Thanks
for y'all. Catch you next time.